The Nike Air Zoom Pegasus 39. Is this the shoe, the successor to break the bad Pegasus streak that has been occurring in Nike's lineup in the last couple of years? Let's talk about it. So before we get into it, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed and watching this content. Thanks so much, love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava and all sorts of other social medias if you want to follow up to date with some of my training for the Chicago and Tokyo Marathon respectively, and all sorts of other fun stuff. So without further ado, let's get into the Air Zoom Pegasus 39. Specs somewhere on the screen here, wherever the whiteboard isn't going to conflict with it. That's the marathon training plan if you guys haven't seen so far. Looking pretty toasty so far. So let's look at the outsoles of the shoe first and foremost. So just a heads up before I kind of showcase some of it. There's a little bit of gravel and dust on them because some of the routes I'm running on do have gravel and dust out here. So that just kind of the jazz of things kind of going on. So of course in the area that we're most concerned with again is on the outsole, outside area of the shoe. This particular piece of rubber is the one I've been keeping my focus on. So let's go over some of the general specs of this shoe. So as I remember it, with the size 8.5 to 9 in men's size, I believe the shoe weighs about 9.2 ounces, which puts it at about like 220 grams average. I think the numbers might be a little bit different up here. We'll verify that, of course. So it puts it at a heavier end shoe, but it's lighter than its predecessors, which is very interesting. So the shoe's lost a little bit of weight despite some of the overhaul in the design that we'll get into in a minute. Now, there's a couple of things that what's listed on like Nike's website versus what is the truth of the shoe that kind of conflicts, right? So one of the things that is mentioned is that the shoe has a 10 millimeter offset, but other sites that have measured the shoe approximately and appropriately say that the offset's about 8 millimeters, where the heel is about 30 and the forefoot's about 22. I'm going to try to find those specs for sure and see what Nike lists versus what, the third parties say. So like what Running Warehouse says, what some of the shoe guru pages kind of mention. So following all the information, it looks like the consensus is 8 millimeter offset versus a 10. If this is the case, that's a major difference between the Pegasus 38 and 37 lineup compared to the 39. And that's kind of from the general spec side of things. So in the upper, we can see that it still has this mesh upper, which very much resembles the Pegasus 37 as I remember it. Despite the color scheme, it looks like it's slightly lighter in some spots and has a little bit less textile mesh kind of going around. And I think the light spots seem to be here in like the middle of the foot areas, particularly here on the inside and on the outside as well. But the forefoot area seems to have this same narrow design that the shoe has always had for like a pretty solid fit, at least in my opinion. So that's the good stuff there. In the shoelace area, it has that signature Pegasus, like, I guess, nylon rope kind of weave in the shoe line. So that, again, no issues with it so far. I've never seen it exactly snap at any point during the shoe's lifespan on any Pegasus I've owned. So we'll just kind of roll with it, see how well it works as we go along. The tongue of the shoe, it's kind of gusseted, but kind of not. So it's a very minimal gusset, as you can see, where it's kind of narrow here and then goes kind of wider on the outside. It has like some sort of fusion between the natural tongue of the shoe and that gusseted tongue we've seen in the past. It's also got a little bit of plush on it too, so no material on the inside, just kind of has a little bit of an airbag in there just to kind of keep the shoe, in a sense, overall with a little bit of space, so it's not too tight on your foot when you tie the shoelaces down. And again, it's got the eyelids that I've been pretty much just utilizing on the shoe, so my shoelaces kind of tie in there on the inside. No complaints on that side so far. Now, in the heel area, we do have kind of what I consider a standard build on the Nike shoe, which is that we got this like nice heel tongue here in the back. We have a bit of plush on the inside as well. Not so much that it's going to change the fit of your shoe as you go along early on. Maybe later on it may mesh a certain way, but it's comfortable and it's not too intense like it was, I would say, more in like a Tempo Next Percent or Next Percent 2 kind of a deal. So again, the shoe's designed to be a comfort thing, not necessarily to be that kind of a speed race day kind of shoe. Depending on who you are, you may still end up racing in this anyways. Now we go into the foam midsole and just kind of talking about this thing overall. So this is the main difference in the shoe overall. It does have this Air Zoom technology just kind of going basically within the shoe. I believe the foam is React again, so it's just keeping to the standard since the Pegasus 37, of course. But there's two new features to this shoe that we should add. I mean, one we already know, which is that there's that Air Zoom pod in the area of the shoe right here. But apparently, they've added one also in the heel as well for, I guess, maybe people who do more heel striking or have more of that midfoot strike and want like a double Air Zoom pocket bag kind of push on the shoe. So personally, the heel Air Zoom pocket doesn't really affect me because I'm not really heel striking. However, it's probably good to note, like maybe when my strike and I have this like forefoot strike when I hit the ground and the heel kind of bounces off and then launches off, maybe that will add a little bit of additional rebound, but I don't think so because the Air Zoom pocket is so much more of a, it's a more of a push technology than something like a carbon plate. So you need more force to kind of enable it. So I think I would really have to hit the heel hard in order to enable such an Air Zoom pocket kind of thing in the heel. So in the forefoot, the right foot has been, doing pretty well in the shoe. And the main concern that, if you guys may have remembered my Pegasus 38 video of like my disdain for it, there was a bit of a flare up in the left foot Air Zoom pocket. And in this case, I'm already noticing something different. So like instead of all the pressure kind of building on that, big toe to like third metatarsal area of your foot, it looks like the pressure is now expanding a little bit to the sides of my foot rather than that center Air Zoom pocket. So there might be a thing where the pod is maybe pushed upwards in the shoe a little bit more, or it's pushed downwards even, and there's a lot more material covering it up here on the outside from the standard, insole of the shoe. So far it's not bad. Some days I'll feel my left foot flare up in this particular Air Zoom like pocket area or this pod area, but it's not really affecting my run in sort of a negative way. It just kind of flares up in the foot overall. So it might be just like the way my left foot strikes the ground that may be causing some issues in this particular case. So that's from, I guess, a first impression standpoint, the things I gotta say. Probably to add on to other resources I've been reading about the shoe, they say that one of the cons of the shoe is that it's not a very good everyday trainer. So I'm guessing they're implying that this is not a really good slow day shoe, which I strongly disagree with. In fact, I would use this for like my everyday recovery runs. Maybe that's kind of where the caveat split is. It's less recovery day run stuff and more everyday type of material, which I guess if we phrase it like that, it makes more sense. But I think the recovery and everyday run can be still kind of classified in the same realm of running depending on how specific you want to be. And I think the Pegasus 39 can suit both of those needs for the average runner. I would not use this as like my tempo day trainer, that's for sure. I wouldn't use it for race day, but as like an everyday or recovery shoe, it's heavy enough where it's not gonna like send you flying through your run as most people would suspect. So you can run in this like at a standard casual pace, have a little bit of workload because the shoe's a little bit heavier, so you're kind of carrying it a little bit more. And yeah, you're not gonna like blow yourself out of proportion despite the Air Zoom pocket in the shoe. So yeah, that's my take on it. It's a good recovery and everyday shoe as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, I don't think I remember there was anything else bad about the shoe. But again, it is a Pegasus, so there's a specific like, I guess the word I'm looking for is prestige to this shoe as a daily trainer for the last 30 plus years that it's been kind of on its lineup now as it's getting to its 30-year lineup, I believe. So that's pretty much the take on it overall. I guess we're just going to keep going with it, see what happens. I've only put about 10 miles on this shoe so far with no complaints as of right now. Definitely not as bad as the Pegasus 38 was on the, the Air Zoom pod area of my left foot. So we're just going to keep kind of just chugging along and hope it stays this way, kind of like the Pegasus 37, which was like easily the best daily trainer I used in a very long time. So I will end the video here. If you agree or disagree with the assessment or you have a different experience with the shoe, let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about it. We'll see how the duration of the shoe goes as we get into the climax of marathon training and the easy runs after marathon training leading into Tokyo. And I hope this shoe ends up being a substantial piece of my training early on in my running career leading up to the Tokyo Marathon. So I will end the video here. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.